Welcome into the OBR streaming network for a special Things I Think I Know About the Cleveland Browns edition of the show. My name is Brad Ward, and I am your host today. I am your solo host today. We're going to do this thing solo. Good to see you here. Good to see you filing in the chat. Thanks for being here. Hit like, subscribe, in the notification bell so you know every time that we go live here on the network. We will have our schedule release show next week. Sorry, got the hoodies all out of whack there. Next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. here. So don't miss that, along with all our other regular scheduled programming on the OBR streaming network at Twitch, YouTube, and everywhere else that you can get it. It can be found in podcast form. All of our shows can at the Orange and Brown Report on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as well as all other popular podcast platforms. Browns kicked off rookie minicamp today. I've got a list here as they had a remarkable, this is all out of whack, a remarkable 56 guys in camp today. So 56 players is the highest I've seen in quite some time, that I can remember, going back to maybe Freddie Kitchens' rookie minicamp. So 56 guys is what I was reported by Zach Jackson at rookie minicamp. And I have a ton of names of guys that are there on a tryout basis, that I did a little bit of work on, just basic info on some of these guys, because we didn't really know who a ton of these guys were coming in. We knew who the UDFAs that signed, 13 of them signed today to participate in the rookie minicamp, along with, of course, your drafted players as well. So they all got together today, 56 guys, got out on the field. There's plenty of footage out there from our own Fred Greetham and the Browns account of Shador throwing, Dylan Gabriel throwing, the backs getting involved. Some 7-on-7s took place, stuff like that. Harold Fannin hooking up a couple times with Shador and Gabriel. I've been doing some work on Gabriel back to his Oklahoma days. And I'll say this, while I didn't like the pick initially, and more so based on where they took the pick at 94 and the guys that were around them, as I've said a couple of times now, there were about 10 guys in front and 10 behind that pick that I liked for the Browns. I think they could have made an instant impact. But the more that I dig into Dylan Gabriel tape, evaluations going back to Oklahoma and at Oregon, the more you like. He's got a strong arm. He rips the ball in there. He's got good touch. He seems to be able to process the field well. He's very deliberate in what he is doing. He maneuvers the pocket pretty well. And you don't see a ton of batted balls, even for a guy his size. He seems to handle pressure in his face better than I expected. So just a couple comments there that I do think that Dylan Gabriel and I thought Shador, from the brief clips that we saw today, looked good as well out there. So I thought both guys looked sharp. They were accurate. If you listen to some Browns daily, Segura was kind of gushing over their accuracy. Everything's on air for the most part with a little 7-on-7. So take it for what it's worth. It's rookie minicamp. But there's that. Tonight on the show, though, I want to talk about go through the players, right, that were in camp for invites. Is there anybody that jumps off the page? Not really, but we'll go through those guys anyways. And I wanted to talk about a little bit about Andrew Berry's interview this morning on 92.3 with friend of the show, Ken Carmen, and Anthony Lima. I thought they had some great questions for Andrew in what was a short 20-minute interview on the airwaves there at 92.3 The Fan. So a couple things off the top. Let's talk about yesterday. We did a crossover show, All Eyes on Cleveland, with Browns 3D and Jeff Lloyd. That was a ton of fun. Go check that out if you didn't see it. We basically just talked ball for 90 minutes. It was really productive, I thought. We mentioned Gabe Davis being on the market and stuff like that. And I think the more I've thought about this, because it was like, what do the Browns need to do to finish the roster? And there was some rumors today around the NFL that the Cowboys were trying to improve their wide receiver room for a couple months now, all the way back to the point that they were in talks with Baltimore about trading for Rashad Bateman, and that didn't come to fruition. So then they, turned their sights to another AFC North wide receiver in Kenny Pickett, not Kenny Pickett. I apologize, Pickens. And he was then eventually traded to the Cowboys. So when you look at the Browns wide receiver room, and we talked a lot about who they have there, and it's Judy, it's Tillman, it's Thrash, it's Deontay Johnson, which you hope that certainly the skill levels there, the ability to separate is there. He's had 1,000-yard season. He's been productive at times. Even last year for his stint in Carolina was very productive with like 3 touchdowns. So can he, in this being kind of his last chance, can he put it all together and be that third wide receiver? I hope so. I hope he raises the floor of the wide receiver room and the ceiling potentially. But at the same time, I think and we'll talk about there's a bunch of wide receivers trying out for this team at rookie minicamp, and none of them really jump off the page as like, boy, I love the way that guy looks. But we'll talk about that. But, you've got Jamari Thrash, and you don't really know what he is. He had opportunities at the end of last year. He didn't really make any strides with those opportunities. David Bell, do we know what he is? Sort of. But I feel like his ceiling is capped a little bit. Michael Woods, do we know who he is? I think we do. And Caden Davis is there as well. And then all these guys that they've brought in to try out for this team. I think in this season, if you can find a player like a Deontay Johnson, low risk, high reward, no guaranteed money, vet minimum, those flyers, those lotto tickets, or those chances that Andrew Berry wants to make at that room are fine. But I wouldn't go out adding a player like Gabe Davis or veteran guys that aren't, how do I want to say this? Veteran guys that aren't going to be a part of this thing going forward. I think it's more productive in 2025 to find out exactly what Jamari Thrash is, find out exactly who Cedric Tillman is, although I think we have high hopes for him, and that's fine. But let's find out exactly who these guys are, and maybe not take like valuable reps away from guys like Thrash and Bell and your younger guys on the roster here, to give them to a veteran who really isn't going to be a part of the solution in the long run with the Cleveland Browns, right? So can you bring in a younger receiver? That's kind of why I always liked Elijah Moore. He's only 25, right? So the potential for him to be a part of this going onward was always there. I kind of wish they wouldn't have let Elijah get away. Now, was he worth paying him? Whatever. I don't know. But his age made him valuable in a sense. And this production was not terrible. I mean, he served a purpose here. Now you're going to get Jamari Thrash with the opportunity. You're going to get your Mikey Trees with an opportunity, Deontay Johnson with an opportunity, and of course we want to see what Cedric Tillman does this year. That's a huge deal. And the bigger swing at wide receivers feels like it's coming down the road. I'm at a point, I think, in this offseason where I don't really see that trade out there. There are opportunities potentially to trade for guys. There will be guys cut that can be added to this team that maybe improve it. But I only want those guys to be guys that you feel like could be a part of the core moving forward, or carve out a part of being the core moving forward. It shouldn't be like a vet patch job to raise, what you have in this wide receiver room. I don't think that's productive for your younger wide receivers at this point. So I thought that was worth hitting on today on things I think I know. So let's get to Andrew Berry's interview. Couple highlights from it. He talked a while about the two, being in trade conversations with Jacksonville for 2 weeks and their new GM. And that, it was kept quiet by both sides. Nobody really, we knew that they had a potential desire to trade back, but we didn't know this was in the works for 2 weeks by any stretch. Coming into draft night, and then it became known that night. But boy, they play it close to the vest on both sides, and they kind of asked about how do you trust a guy you haven't worked with before. And he said that he really enjoyed working with Jacksonville's new GM. And I have said this a couple times. I think it's a bold move by Jacksonville with a new coach, a new GM, to not even have evaluated your team or been in camp with your team, really. I mean, of course, they evaluated them on paper, but been around the players in a day-to-day capacity or learned what you really have there before making a move like that, which gives up a first-round asset next year and even pick 36 this year. So now, is Travis Hunter going to bring a ton of excitement there? Sure. I am still a bit of a skeptic of whether the two-way thing will even work at the NFL level. So, and I always said if he was going to be a Brown, he was going to be a wide receiver first for me. Now, he has an expectation of doing both, and I think they're certainly going to let him do that in Jacksonville, which I think muddies the waters in how this works out for him. I hope it works out. I hope he's a terrific player. I don't think that ends up being in any way an indictment on the Browns, and that was asked of Andrew as well. How do you view what Travis Hunter goes on to do? And at some point, if he becomes so good, do you look back on this trade like it was a bad move? And you won't know this for years, But I think that where the Browns are at, and I've said this too, so ad nauseum, that every move you make, you have to ask about franchise quarterback. Like, where is the franchise quarterback coming from? So in taking the first rounder next year, going back to 5 and taking Mason Graham, and adding, 36 this year, which became Judkins. It seems to me that if it gets you your quarterback, and the way I view the 26th draft with 2 first-round picks there, is that you're swinging on a quarterback unless one of these rookies blows you out of the water this year, right? Like, if the class is there, the players are there, your draft assets land in an appropriate fashion that allows you to get up, or one of the picks is there anyways, maybe Jacksonville's bad, maybe the Browns end up being really bad. I don't know, win-loss wise, but ultimately, you just want them to be able to get their guy and solve this thing for the first time in 40 years, right? Like, this is your opportunity to do so. It is so critical. So you've got to learn a lot about these quarterbacks quickly. And that was asked about him. And it's a question that I would have asked, and I appreciated them asking Andrew about this. How do you balance evaluating these young quarterbacks and trying to win at the same time? And this led to a question about Flacco. And he basically just said, listen, their job right now is to A, make the team, and B, carve out a role, right? And that's what their focus should be on at this point, the rookies, that is, Gabriel and Sanders. And I think that's appropriate. And these reps are certainly important because they're both going to get more reps here in rookie minicamp. And they talked about it. He even said that they are using a different, structure to their rookie minicamp to get them both more repetitions at quarterback. He went on to talk about Flacco a little bit. I thought this was super interesting. He said he didn't want Flacco to necessarily think of himself as, or focus on, teaching or mentoring the young guys. For them, it's about Joe coming in and winning the job. That's what its focus should be on. Of course, they're going to work together. Of course, there's going to be collaboration. Of course, there's going to be some mentoring that goes along. But did they bring him in to do that? No, basically. They didn't. They brought him in to go try to win this job. And I thought that was interesting as well. And definitely worth noting. And I think I like that approach. He said, we got enough professionals there. We got enough coaches there to help these rookies. We don't need Joe doing that as well. Back to the reps thing, which I keep coming back to, like, how are you going to get enough evaluation on these guys? And he basically said through, less so in rookie camp, but as OTAs go to mandatory minicamp to training camp, he said he was not worried about the players getting enough repetitions, quarterbacks getting enough reps to evaluate all of them properly. It'll take some doing, probably take some different structure, and he even admitted that Joe needs less reps-wise, right? So that does help a little bit. But for the younger guys in the room, Kenny and Dylan and Shador, they are going to have to earn reps, but there'll be plenty, enough to fairly evaluate all of them. He was asked if he gets angry when people take the Shador pick and slap the label of an owner's pick on it. And he said he doesn't listen. Anything outside noise, and you ask Andrew Berry about, he's going to say that's outside noise. It doesn't concern us. We don't let it bother us. It's how he answers the question every time, which is right. And that's the way it should be handled. he was asked about Shador's popularity. He said same thing, needs to make the team, focus on making the team first, earn the role second. He doesn't care internally about his popularity. So all that stuff, very interesting. Kind of what we knew, though. The big takeaway from this thing was the Chubb stuff, right? As Nick Chubb, has he been in contact with him? And where is he as far as his recovery goes? And Barry said his foot's fine. It's not like last year. His foot's fine. He's healthy. He should be fine too. This is the most annoying hoodie right now ever. He should be fine health-wise, and he's not concerned about his foot or whatever. They had communication before the draft. Since then, not strong communication. He was further asked about it, and he said he wouldn't rule out. How did he say? He said wouldn't rule out Chubb completely, but it's become increasingly unlikely that he will be a part of this team. In less likely in the short term. So if that means like I take that to mean maybe if there's an injury or something down the line and he were still a free agent, that they would maybe revisit that. But it certainly sounds to me like as long as he has his rookie Dylan Sampson, and he talked about Ford and his value, and Quinshon Judkins in this room, that those are the guys they're focused on. And that's fine. I still wish they would bring him back. I still wish, like, for me, it's work. Like, he was not healthy last year. Do we know how much is in the tank? Not really. But if he is truly healthy, and it's always the year after the year of the major knee injury. So the burst was gone last year, but could be back this year, right? Like whoever, if he signs somewhere else, if he ends up back here eventually, whatever, the burst could be back. I would want to see that, A, and B, I would just find a role for him on this team, because him walking in the doors means more to the Browns than it will ever mean to any other organization in 32 teams in the NFL. It just will. His return validates the Browns. It helps with the culture immediately. They're taken more seriously immediately. And ultimately, in the long run, these things will. The proof is in the pudding, and they can earn that without him. And I think that's obviously where they're trending on going. But in this year, in this season, I would want him back for one more year, even if it's in a short yardage role, if it's in, the third running back role. And I know that I think the part of the reason that it's less likely is because they view Jerome Ford as that third running back or second, or however you want to position them. But, and he's focused on the two rookies, he said. That's fine, and I would too, but I still would want him back because he makes an impact not just on the field, and he could make an impact on the field, but he just makes an impact on the organization. It's a different feel to the organization when Nick Chubb is around, when he's in the walls, in Berea, working, when he's in the running back room. I mean, who better for these guys to learn from, right, than Nick Chubb? So, and great competition, right? Nobody's out there begging to give him a huge contract right now. I find it hard to believe you couldn't come to a reasonable pay structure for him moving forward. Like, I can't imagine he's asking teams to break the bank for him. He's in kind of a prove it year, right? And maybe he doesn't think he can prove it here, so maybe it's more on the Chubb side than it is on the Browns. I mean, they did draft 2 rookie running backs that are both, I view, as elite prospects. So maybe for Chubb, he doesn't want to come here. Maybe it's more about him wanting a better opportunity. So maybe that's why it's increasingly less likely. But if I'm Andrew Berry and if I'm the Browns, I'm trying to get him back in here because he changes your organization. He's worth more to you at $4 million or $5 million a year than he is to any other organization. The second he walks in the door, the tone he sets, the validation he brings is worth it on its face value before he even steps foot on the field, in my opinion. So that's I just can't imagine budging off of that feeling. Now, I guess I've kind of talked myself into this here. It probably makes more sense. I don't know. Maybe he wants an opportunity elsewhere and doesn't see it here because of the rookies, because of Ford, and he wants the opportunity to get more touches or a pathway to more touches on a winning team or a team that's going to contend for a Super Bowl or whatever. So we've heard rumors about the Bears and all that. So, but disappointing. You never want to hear it's less likely that Chubb is going to return because he does all those things, I think, just walking in the door and being part of the organization. So that was disappointing to hear, certainly. The rest of it was pretty interesting stuff. He got asked questions about trades on draft night. He said they're a pretty well-oiled machine. They have guys that do the draft grade pricing immediately. They win a lot of these trades, guys. They just do. They win a lot of these trades. So that, you can criticize past drafts. Some are still, we don't know yet. It hasn't been long enough. And then this is the first one where you had your full complement of picks. So it's a big one for Andrew. But, when it comes to trading, they've done a phenomenal job. And they've won most of those trades. Asked if they challenged Miles to be a leader more this year because that was out there for a while. They said in a roundabout way, he said they do that every year. But first and foremost, they want him to be a professional and do his job at an elite level. Agreed, but and I think it's tough to ask him to step into a leadership role after what happened this summer, but we'll see how all that shakes out. Your leadership on this team, and we'll find out more about these rookies, but maybe Flacco early, and a lot of your defensive veterans, I think, are going to be your leaders, right? And like your offensive line guys, Bitonio, and that's a tough place to lead from. I don't think the leader, like the guy that will lead the Browns going on into the future, he may not even be on this roster yet. I think that's fair. So that's the stuff from Andrew Berry today. Interesting. Some things to keep an eye on. Sad stuff about Chubb, but, not giving up completely yet. All right. Things I think I know. We talked about the wide receiver room a little bit and letting the young guys out there now. So 56 guys in camp today. We went through the 13 UDFA. So you have these guys that signed. Aiden Huntington is a defensive end, 6'1", 281, 23 years old from Tulane. Jason Ivey, a tackle, 6'5", 300 pounds, 23 years old from North Carolina A&T. Lamarian James, cornerback from Texas Christian. Dom Jones, cornerback from Colorado State. Gage Lavardane, I guess, 5'8", 171, 22 years old, South Carolina. This is very similar to the guy they brought in as a UDFA last year. Me and Pete talked about this if you saw that show when we covered all these guys. But I have more on these guys here. But the they keep bringing in these super small speed guys. I don't know if they view them as returners, but once again, even talked about last night, and we always talk about it on All Eyes on Cleveland Casey. It's just, I don't think in today's NFL you need to be looking for like return guys or special teams aces. Like you should have guys like your sixth corner, your fifth corner, your third running back, your sixth wide receiver that can do both. Like DeAndre Carter, I don't think is necessarily, and we'll see. He's had moments, I think, as a wide receiver with the Chargers. But, like, is he a good enough wide receiver to justify making this team? We'll find out more. But on its face, no. He's a return man specialist again. And I just don't think they need to go that route with a roster spot. Anyway, so they bring in this kid from South Carolina, Lavardane. He's just fast. He's 5'8". He's 5'8". Not a ton of receiving yards. Here he is. 5'8", 180. First two seasons at Southeastern Louisiana before transferring to Miami of Ohio in 2023, and then to South Carolina in 2024. He had 19 catches for 223 yards and a touchdown in 2024. Small, fast wide receiver. Had a huge year in the MAC in 2023. Went to South Carolina in 2024. Doesn't excite me a ton. Amani Marshall, running back from App State. These are the signed guys. Easton Mascarenas Arnold, linebacker, 5'11", 227 from Southern. Covered all these guys before. The long snapper, Matisic from Texas Christian. Pardon me. Yeah. From Cal, I guess. Is that? Hold on. It's not centered. From Cal. No, from Texas Christian. Donovan McMillan was on Garage Beers this week with Mike Keefe and the guys. Like this kid. He's one of my favorites. Safety, 6'2", 203 from Pitt. Think he has some potential. Justin Osborne, center from Southern Methodist. Jasim Reed, another wide receiver. He's 6'1", 190 from San Diego. D'Artagnan Tinsley is a guard, 340 pounds from Cincinnati. And then Eli Wilson, fullback from App State, 6'3", 239. Those are the 13 UDFAs signed to camp. But as we mentioned, there was 56 dudes at rookie minicamp. So here are some of the tryouts that I was able to scrounge up. There's not a ton out there on a lot of these guys. To be honest, you go draft profile hunting, and some of these guys weren't even on the radar. Some were. But cornerback Christian Ayas from New Haven ran a 4.85 40. He has a RAS score of 5.33. He's a corner. He's 5'11 and a half, 202, but from New Haven. Linebacker Macklin Ayers. These guys are tryout guys. Was in camp. He's from UMass. Started at Dartmouth or transferred from Dartmouth to UMass, 6'2", 230 linebacker. Not much on him. Wide receiver Jabri Barber was at Troy, then went to Texas A&M, runs a 4.5 40, 5'9", 179. I don't. It's a theme. It's a theme. There's no big wide receivers really that they brought in that I can find. Kadeem Davis, 6 foot. Free agent they brought in. Has been bouncing around practice squads since 22. He's in camp. 6 foot. I mean, all right. They got a punter in camp, Avery Brook from Akron. There's some local kids in here for sure. Safety Iverson Brown from Southern Illinois. He's 6'2", 207. Not a ton on him. All right, here's a guy that's intriguing. Missouri Southern tight end Deontay Campbell, 6'4", 242, ran a 4.7 40. Injury kept him. He was invited. He was on the Senior Bowl list, on the Shrine Bowl list, and but injury kept him out. He's healthy now, and he's in Browns camp. So that's super interesting. He's a guy that's intriguing. Joseph Charleston. This is a safety brought in. And 6 foot 205 from Clemson for a couple years to Missouri, ran a 4.42 40. Has a draft profile. Keep a guy to maybe keep your eye on there at the safety position. He's certainly got the speed to play free safety, but he's in for a tryout. Wide receiver Luke Floria, F-L-O-R-I-E-A is how you spell his last name. Wide receiver from Mentor, went to Kent State, so local kid. 44 receptions, 688 yards, and 8 touchdowns. It's a lot of touchdowns. Pretty good for a kid from Kent. But here we go again. Size. Now, you can't look at their size at Kent State. Don't make the mistake of looking at their size at their college websites. They're not even close, right? You got to go to where they were measured at their pro day or the combine or whatever stop they were officially measured at. He's 5'8", 175. 5'8". So what? There's 3 receivers I've named. 5'8", 5'11", or 6 foot. 4 receivers, 5'9", and 5'8". Matt Hudson, linebacker, 4.73 40 from Memphis, is in for a tryout. He's 6'1", 235. Kicker in camp from App State. They must love App State's special teams. Isn't that where the long snapper is from? Is that what I said? No. I take that back. Sorry. Running back from App State. Fullback from App State. Another kid from App State here, though. Kicker. Cameron Johnson, 6'3", 210, has an NFL prospect grade of 5.83, which is your backup. It's like projected to be career backup potential, special teams help, blah, blah, blah. But the fact that he's on the NFL site as a prospect grade means he was evaluated by teams. He's a guard, 6'3", 310, pardon me. Guy to keep your eye on. Here we go. Wide receivers. Got a bunch of wide receivers in. So there's a theme here. Okay. Wide receiver from Western Kentucky. 4.52 40-yard dash. His name's Kissian Johnson. Kisean is how you spell that. Johnson. 6 foot 216. A little taller. Western Kentucky. Okay. Next wide receiver, Malcolm Johnson, kick return specialist, 4.43 from Bowling Green, 6 foot 195. We don't have anybody that's broken the 6 foot barrier yet at the wide receiver position. These guys are a long shot to make the roster anyway, so don't take me at I'm saying like, whatever. But I wouldn't mind seeing a 6'3" guy, in here somewhere at wide receiver. There's a more interesting wide receiver athletically profiled here in a minute we'll get to. But Cade McDonald, another wide receiver in for tryout, 5'11", 200 pounds. 52 catches, 631 yards, 3 touchdowns, pardon me. Cornerback Austin McKinney, 6 foot 202, Northwest Missouri State. Not a ton on him. Here is a corner with the draft profile, a real one. Tavian, Veon, Tavian Nicholson, cornerback, 4'4", 240. Started at Illinois, finished at Louisville. Some pass breakups, some tackles, 5'10", 185. True draft profile on him. Maybe a guy to keep an eye on. Cornerback Tavian Nicholson trying out. Back to wide receivers in camp trying out. This guy has a legit. His RAS score is 5.22, so it's not crazy. But once again, that's based. It's the size restrictions that are hurting him. From Central Missouri, he's 5'11", 183. 5'11". But a 4.46 40. His vertical is a 38.5, and his broad jump was 10.05 or whatever. So he was in the 90th percentile in both of those. So some good explosion there, along with the 40 time. The athletic profile, at least as far as speed and burst, is there. But once again, 5'11", 183, Central Missouri. Fullback Peter Monty is in from Colorado State for a tryout, 6 foot 233. This guy's interesting. Defensive end John Pius, Pius. I thought originally he was on my UDFA sign list. It's actually a tryout. 21 total sacks in the last 3 years. Now, he got 9.5 in 22, 9 in 23, and he got 2.5 in 24 with a forced fumble. And he's 6'2", 242 from Wisconsin. This is a real guy that I think could be around for the offseason at least, right? Wisconsin kid has some production rushing off the edge. 21 sacks in 3 years, but 22 and 23, 9.5 and 9. Not bad. UDFA. Okay, so the next guy is interesting. They brought in this tight end, John Samuel Shanker, not from this draft class, was actually cut or signed last offseason by the Raiders. Played in 8 games with the Raiders last year. Mostly special teams. Blocking. He's 6'3", 249. He was cut by the Raiders in March. He's in rookie minicamp. So a UDFA the Raiders gave up on, but he did play in 8 games. So But he's in camp. Interesting guy to keep an eye on. All right, tight end Keyshawn Toney, 6'3", 255 from South Carolina. They certainly like South Carolina players. The good athlete here, Tony is 6'3", 255. The tight ends are interesting. Another tight end, 6'5", 250, Mitch Van Vuren from St. Norbert College. Never heard of it. 6'5", 250. Tight end. Another defensive end. Intriguing player here. These last few guys are the most intriguing of the tryout guys. But the defensive end, David Van, V-A-N-N with 2 N's, 6'2", 280, NC State. At 6'2", 280, I was like, huh. And I dug into his profile a little bit. Very versatile, they said. Inside, outside versatility, can rush off the edge, can play a little defensive tackle as well at 280 in different packages, whatnot. From NC State, so the level of competition is there. Not a ton of production, but an interesting player nonetheless. Linebacker Donald Willis from Cleveland, he is. Was at Minnesota to start, and then transferred to Western Michigan. He's 6'1", 225 in that linebacker room with Tarver in them. Another linebacker here, Ty Wise. Some of you Maction fans might know who this is. Miami of Ohio, 6'1", 223. Second team All-MAC, 89 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. I mean, not bad. 6'1", 223, MAC kid, Ty Wise. And then finally, a corner I'm intrigued with. Draft profile out on him. He was originally reported to be trying out or signing as a UDFA with the Jaguars. Interestingly enough, I found this link that had reported him going to Jaguars camp. He's not. He's in Browns camp. He transferred from Kansas State to UConn, 4'5", 40, 5'10", 187. Good coverage skills. There's a profile on him. He's trying out. So those are some of the names that were leaked out on what guys are trying out for the Cleveland Browns at rookie minicamp. And then the 13 guys we already knew about as UDFAs, plus your drafted players, obviously highlighted a ton today. Harold Fannin Jr. catching balls from Gabriel and Sanders. They both looked accurate and sharp. Like I mentioned before, doing more work on Gabriel. I think that there's more to like there than originally meets the eye. I'm watching a film breakdown on him of a game he played at Oklahoma against West Virginia. And man, he looks really sharp in this game. And he makes some NFL caliber throws as far as ball location, keeping his, throwing his receivers open, slowing them down in spots, very nuanced passing stuff. And when he has to put some heat on it, he can put that baby in there. So they both look very accurate in the minimal videos we saw today. That's what we know about these guys. They're both accurate passers, right? And it'll be an interesting competition the whole way along. I still think at this point that Joe Flacco starts the season. Personally, I think that's your best case. Is I don't know how long Joe Flacco can be the quarterback, but can he give you 6 games and maybe get you out to a hot start? Because if you won 4 games, and we'll know more about the way the the record stacks up. Second hardest in the NFL for the second year in a row. Record. But how it aligns. But is this the schedule conditioned in a way that you can get off to a hot start? We'll find out on Wednesday on the draft release show, play the schedule game and all that stuff. But if Flacco starts, can he get you out to a 4-2 start? Something like that. That really keeps you playing relevant football for a couple months then at that point. And you do have to learn about these guys this year, Gabriel and Sanders, at some point. Because next offseason, unless I see something from one of these two that makes me feel like and the perfect analogy here is the Brock Purdy. Unless Brock shows me they are Brock Purdy, they fit the system, this is the guy, you can win with him at the highest levels because of the way that he fits. Unless that is discovered somehow this season, plan for me still is I'm getting my guy early in the draft next year to solve all of the quarterback problems. So now how the class shakes out, how many guys are there, who they love, where they finish, where Jacksonville finishes, all still to be determined. So you have to keep an open mind somewhat, but I'm not giving up on these guys. I certainly think that Shedeur has it within him, and maybe even Dylan Gabriel, to do something that makes them think about how they want to use the double first-round picks next year. But it would have to be substantial, right, for you to not think you're swinging again high next year on a quarterback in the first round. That's where I'm at. So things I think I know, the OBR streaming network. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thanks for being here with me tonight. Going solo here, breaking stuff down from rookie minicamp, giving you guys, everybody who tried out, talked a little bit about Andrew Berry's press conference. If you missed that, go back, hit the rewind function, and watch it. We appreciate you always contributing to the show. Hit like and subscribe on your way in or out. And let's hope the Cavs can pull one out tonight. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. My name is Brad Ward for everybody over at the Orange and Brown Report, kicking ass 24/7. This has been another edition of Things I Think I Know. I am out.